Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I am good. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I think it's already recording here. We just hit you right away. Okay. So I hope you don't mind that.
No.
Okay. So first of all, this is our first time talking. Are you in, I know you move around a lot, but are you in Grand Rapids?
I am. Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And I think you were in Pasadena for a while, weren't you?
Yep. South Pasadena. Right there in Bungalow Heaven and all
Cool.
that history and tradition. Yeah.
Yeah. You were close to me at that point. My wife and I are up in the valley in Reseda right now. So not too far. Everywhere in LA is kind of far.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It takes so long to get anywhere, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I know when I first moved down here, and I had some friends who came down after me, and it was like, oh, we'll see each other this weekend. And I had to drive from the west side to Glendale, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So we would brave the traffic. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. What about you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, just getting into the day here. It's I guess it's 2 hours difference?
Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah.
I just wanted to start by, first of all, seeing how you're doing. How have you been recently? How has COVID affected your art? Have you been slowed down? Have you shifted your focus?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm lucky really because, I've established this market, a niche market really on architectural art and commissions. So I get these multiple commissions now coming in around the country. And that didn't slow down. It didn't even miss a beat. I mean, at first, when we were all under lockdown, I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. Who's going to want to pay out for this?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I did some promotion, like love your house, get a portrait of it and reduce costs and thought, I've got to. So there was 1 week, it was a bit quiet. What? After that, it just started rolling forward in the same way. Because in a way, I had more of a captive audience. You see, they were there stuck at home.
Well, yeah, they're stuck at home. And then, you also do, well, first of all, to back up, you do kind of architectural paintings. You do people's refurbished homes, sort of? Is that an accurate way to say it?
Well, any homes, they're new homes, they're old homes, they're earlier homes. Yeah, really homes and historic buildings. I also get commissions for churches, for city halls,
right?
Retail stores. I mean, nearly always historic, but not only. Sometimes it's new construction, interesting cliffs hanging from, homes hanging from cliffs.
Yes.
I get and glass homes and some really interesting stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, it's funny because I had a similar situation at the beginning of the pandemic. It was about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, where I panicked a little bit, and then the sales started picking up, especially if you're doing, commissions and had an online presence. But yeah, people were at home. People were like, well, we got nothing else to do. So they were taking on home projects. And then especially for you, it seems like if you're taking on a home project and you're beautifying your home, what a better way to, enhance that by getting an original painting from you.
Yeah. And, I could see at first I was sort of sending messages like, I know it's really tough for everybody and la, la, la. And then I decided, well, firstly, these people have money. My demographic pretty well, they have nice homes, they have money.
Sure.
They were nearly all professionals and they work from home. So it didn't really affect them too much. So I said, well, why am I even harping on this? Just decided to act completely normal, charge everything as normal and I thought, I'll see what the result is, right? Just do it exactly like nothing's changed. We're all good.
Yeah.
And it went smoothly. I had a good year.
That's great. And I think probably people appreciated you not kind of reminding them again, by the way, we know everything's gone to the shit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So that's nice. Well, you're originally from New Zealand, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is it Auckland? Is that how you pronounce it?
Auckland.
Auckland. Okay.
Like
I'm not going to
like the orcs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Auckland. I'm not going to say it right.
Lord of the Rings. I once convinced someone, I said, you say it Auckland. And the orcs and Lord of the Rings, those big, ugly.
Yeah, the orcs. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I said, someone was trying to pronounce it here in the States. I said, well, just like orcs. That's how it gets the name. Orcs. Like those wild. They used to roam the earth there in New Zealand, and that's where they're from. Auckland.
That's what it's named after. It's named after the orcs.
They believe me.
Auckland.
They believe me for a minute.
Oh, wow, really? My wife and I, it's funny, we just watched a movie that was set in Auckland. I'm not going to say it right. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that.
It's okay.
It's called Lovebirds. It was like a romantic comedy that was set there, and it looks like a beautiful city.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit like San Francisco. It's a sister city.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, remind me of that.
Isthmus, harbor. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Oh, that's so cool. So, okay. So what made you leave? I guess we're going to get into, I normally ask people about their origin story. So maybe we'll just segue into that. Like, how did you end up, becoming an artist in the first place and leaving Auckland?
Sure.
Auckland. Damn it.
You're doing good.
Okay, thanks.
Well, growing up, my mother's an artist, my grandmother, my aunt made her living from an art, my father too. So it was but visual arts. So when we went away on Christmas on a holiday, we have summer holidays at Christmas time. So when we went away, we'd be out at dawn, doing paintings of the sunset and and so this was something that was normal for me. So I was always good at art, and at school, I was pretty exceptional, or they considered I was. And so I sort of knew I wanted to be an artist. And then it all started one day in terms of the path I chose, because I really couldn't stand school. I wanted to leave school at the end of high school. So I made a deal with my mother that I could do that as long as I went to the Auckland Technical Institute and I did a course on graphic art, so I got something under my belt,
Right.
So anything to leave school. So I did that.
It was more easily digestible that way.
Yeah. So 3 weeks into my training, I'm sitting there one day in the class, hating it. This I say old professor, he's probably my age.
Your perspective changes, doesn't it?
Yeah. He was going on about history and where it's all from. And I'm watching these white puffy clouds just floating along outside. And I just stood up in the middle of the class. I said, I got to go. And I had an old beat up station wagon, $10 to my name. I thought, I'm going to learn how to paint and make my living by doing it and going on an adventure. So I went the next morning. I left at the crack of dawn and went all over the South Island. I had a few friends along the way I stayed with, and otherwise I met people, and they offered their beach house to me. I mean, it was actually the most amazing experience. And then when I ran out of money, what I do is, put my shorts on, sit up in front of a resort, of course, with a mountain and paint away, just like, I just landed here. And I'd always sell the painting, right? Even I was dirt cheap, and enough to, in those days, buy some food and some gas.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so it just traveled on to the next location. And I actually learned I had to, and it was how I was going to survive. And it was such a fun way of learning it. Then when I came back, I was made my living from my art. I was still a teenager.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing I loved was doing exhibitions and featuring, scenes from New Zealand and this sort of thing. And I sort of, from very early on, I started talking to people who had been to university, had degrees. I thought I'd check it out. Like, could I go that route? How long would that take? What would that involve? And, let me say about 75%, 80% of everyone I spoke to who had an art degree was not making them money, was not making their living from their art. They weren't.
Surprised not more, actually.
They thought their art sucked. I was thinking of going that route, and I'm like, why would I want to do that? All these, they didn't get anything out of it. They're very unhappy. And
they're bitter. Yep.
They're in debt. And like, no, I think I'll go my own route. So the other thing I did, like the gallery situation, you had a few sort of somewhat uppity galleries. I'd go in there and like, well, where have you displayed your work and what school did you go to? I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work.
Right.
So I sort of did it a little different. I'd create a client who loved my work, had a lovely house, and just has lots of friends who were like her, who want art. So I'd have like pop-up shows in homes.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I found another route to display my work, make my money. And then I also got very involved. There's beautiful historic homes in Auckland and all over the New Zealand. So always loved historic homes. So I started doing paintings of those and selling those. And that's how I sort of got into the whole architectural art scene.
Cool. Well, that's like, I love the painter nomad life, learning that way.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's absolutely no pressure, but also pressure at the same time. It's like working under the constraints of, okay, I need to make enough money to be able to travel to the next place. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
There's so much there really to talk about. I mean, I love the fact that, first of all, you weren't dissuaded by a bunch of kind of bitter artists who weren't, doing very well. And I love how it kind of inspired you to go your own way, take your own path. Yeah. And I find that still happens today. I mean, I think the climate has shifted a little bit with art as far as having like an online presence, but people are still frustrated and not making money and don't think that it's a viable way to make a living. And that's one thing that I think that you and I really agree on. One of the many things we agree on, but that's like kind of breaking the starving artist stigma. Because I've always resisted that too. I went through a period where I was a starving artist, like a pretty long period. And then I just took it into my own hands. But I'd like to hear you talk a little bit about that and maybe how you even help other artists, refocus themselves.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Preston, it's really a matter of not going into agreement with how it is and how it always will be. And this is the way it's done. You have to actually inspect for yourself, ask questions. That's what I did. I just really went about and interviewed people, right?
Yeah.
Found out for myself. So that I'd say was a key successful action for me. But after I did I was doing my art, making my living in New Zealand for a few years. Then I went off. I've always had a huge goal to help people in general, working in human rights, children, nonprofit world, really. And that took me all over the world. So that really broadened my horizons, and I did that for 25, nearly 30 years.
Oh, wow. And
I just did my art and sketches as I went, So
can I ask you, did you keep any of your work from that period? And do you ever sell any of it?
Subject.
Oh, no.
I can't believe it. Like a lot of my time was in Europe, in DC. And so I do these sketches, really nice, and some watercolors. And I have a journal. And I gave them all away. And in those days, you didn't take photos of things, right? Now it's so good. How would you didn't do it. And I really have virtually nothing. And I'd leave little notes and make a special card. And of course, everyone loved me and they're still telling me how wonderful I am. But, they were just people on my travels. And I just kick myself now.
You're just like calling them, can I have it back?
Yeah. And then even reaching them, and things like that. So no, it would have been really cool to have that.
Oh man. I mean, that's cool that you were able to give it to people and to touch their lives. And also you got the experience of it, right? So it's not a total loss, but it would be cool to have some of that stuff.
It would be nice. but the real, the challenge came for me because I was in my early 50s and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my art again full time, make my living. Yeah. My husband and I, we needed, it wasn't like a matter of retiring and getting into, taking it easy. No, we needed to make money. Mm-hmm. We needed to, we wanted a whole change of life. We were in Los Angeles at the time. And we said, well, where do we want to live? So you have to start off with an adventurous mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So we did have a car. We had a decent car. We just got rid of all our stuff. And this is the other liberating thing about moving. Everyone holds on to so much crap,
Tell that to my wife.
I really do. Me too. And so you have to force yourself to really get rid of stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
So we kept our essentials and we said, okay, we're going to drive across America, have a road trip, and we're going to find the place to live. Well, we ended up driving all the way across, right? And got up, we sort of found a few, but nothing that really sort of the light bulb went on. And then we got to Washington, D.C. And we were sort of like, it was at night and we are going to head in there and when it was quieter. And we took the wrong turn.
Oh,
and we ended up, went down through this area and almost by the Potomac River. And we realized, like, what is this place we're in? It was magical. It was like going back in time. A century or two, right?
Oh, and, cool. I thought you were going to say you went into like a really dangerous neighborhood or something.
No, no, it wasn't that. It was Old Town Alexandria, Virginia.
Cool.
It's where Washington used to hang out, and it really brought the whole place to life. It's got a lot of boutique stores. It's not commercialized, brick paved streets, and the whole, like, oh, this is it. So we decided, okay, let's move here.
And one of the few older places in America. We're still a pretty young country, so that has some actual history there.
Yeah, it had some history, like from the 1700s and stuff like that. So we got a top story of an old federal building that was like 200 years old and that would rattle around in the wind and stuff. And I have a studio there. And so, but this was the challenge because here I was 30 years later, and I'd never made my living with my art in America. And I had no idea really how I was going to do it, except for the fact that I was determined.
And just give us a frame of reference. How long had it been since you'd actually made a living with your art at this point? 30 years. Okay.
Yeah. And in another country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the first year was really rough because I can do everything. I can do landscapes. I can do portraits, and I was trying to get commissions and hustling and my husband, hated, he's been in construction. He didn't want to do that. He went and got a job doing that so that as a foreman so that, we could live. So, but I knew I had to make it happen. So finally, one day I was out in the street and I'm looking around all these beautiful old homes. I'm like, who's got my money? Who's got my money, right? These people have my money. So, so I did what,
this is the moment in the movie with you being the main character, biopic with a light bulb. Yeah, exactly. The light bulb goes off. That's awesome.
I actually was standing in the middle of the street and I just turned around. I said, well, there's a subject. It's all here. What am I doing? Yeah. Right. And I love this sort of work. So,
and people love their homes. And,
I do. They do. But but where the trick came, I thought, well, I'll just do what I did in New Zealand. And I just made some little, attractive flyers, and I put them in the home, said, hey, get a painting of it. Nothing. It was dead.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? Like, oh, no. And then I thought, okay, they say try door hanging. Okay, so I made the most aesthetic, beautiful door hanger, that you put on the doors that you've ever seen in your life. With pictures, paintings of homes and nothing.
Really?
And at this point, I'm like, oh, no. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would give up at this point. They'd be like, well, I tried.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, I was still determined. So then a lot of people hang out on their porches or they're around and about. So I just walk up to them and say, I love doing paintings like this of homes. And have you ever thought of getting, oh, thanks. I'm glad you like my home. And we'd chat and I'd say, how old was it? And all this sort of thing. But I still got virtually nothing. Oh, well, give me your card. I might get back to you sometime. Well, you know what that means, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Card might be going in the trash.
Then I thought, okay, there's still got to be a way. We've got to be more selective. So I did an experiment. I thought I need more samples anyway of homes, paintings of my homes here in Old Town Alexandria. This is my market. So I did that, and I did 5 paintings, and I put them in 5 homes of their home. Like I've done this painting of your home.
Right.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't normally do that. You don't normally do, just for the hell of it. But I did that. Anyway, 3 out of 5 responded and bought them.
Oh, there you go.
I thought, oh, that's interesting. But no, actually, it's 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. Okay, well, it compensated me in my time and so forth. And I thought, okay, but I can't keep doing this. That's crazy. But at least if they know you've done it, that's a whole different matter.
Sure.
So then I tried something else. When I was traveling, when I was walking around talking to people, as everyone's outside on their porch and stuff, I would go up and say, I'm an artist. I'm doing a series of paintings here in Old Town Alexandria. In Old Town Alexandria, representing the nicest homes here. I've selected to paint yours.
Oh, cool.
Right.
See, there you go. Now they're feeling special, right? On top of it.
Yeah, right. Not like, have you ever thought of, no, I've selected to paint your home. Oh,
Yeah.
you had? Well, I had, because I wouldn't have gone up and said to that unless if they had a crappy home, but it was a nice home. And I thought that would look great. And I tell them about it. Say, well, would you be interested in seeing it when I'm done? Oh, yes, absolutely. Right. Or some would say no, but most would be, yes, well, if you're doing it, yeah, absolutely. So the other little secret tip I do is I used to say, okay, well, they say, give me your card and I'll just, and, I'll get back to you on it. No, don't do that.
Right.
How many people actually get back to you when they say they're going to?
Hardly anybody.
I know.
Anybody. And also, it's just because you're giving them work to do, basically.
Yeah. So I would say, oh, I don't have any cards. Give me your contact information. Get their email, get their telephone. So I'll give you a call when it's done. It also keeps you at cause as the artist. You can be cause, you can be effect. If you say, here's my card, call me when you're ready, well, you're being effect.
Yeah.
The chances of never hearing back. If you say, oh, yes, when I'm done, I'll call you and, we'll set an appointment. So then I'd go around to their house and, of course, they'd want the painting. And I thought,
once they see it, yeah.
So what a difference that making it selective, making it their special. And I thought, okay, this is a marketing. I've got to figure this out. How do I now do this? So I developed a little card, a note card. See, if you put a promotion, I'm telling this to other artists because people say, oh, mailing mailers and putting is bullshit. It doesn't, you're not going to get anywhere with that these days, and email. Well, I built my business, it's a low 6-figure business for the last 8 years, but steady, good, constant amount of income every, to get a mortgage on a house and all that. I built that through those old fashioned methods, so I developed this.
They work.
Yeah. This little note card with a lovely painting on it and in a nice envelope with a handwritten homeowners and the address. And then my message, I'm an architectural artist. I'm creating a series of paintings in this area and I've selected to paint your home. If you're interested, get back to me. And of course, they'd look me up online. They'd see all this work. It would pre-sell them. Right. And then they would, a good percentage. So my percentage of, I think the industry norm is around 0.1 something percent of feedback from a mailer you send to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, you see, I had the advantage of being able to see my demographic, right? And I'd walk around the streets and only select homes that were well loved, that I liked, and that I thought would make, and with flowers and all this. And then I'd leave them a card. And that was the simplicity of it. And then I sort of outgrew old.
This is like old school targeted marketing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By pounding the pavement.
That's right. But it's also, if you isolate, this is the datum of isolating your demographic. Who is your public? Who would buy and keep buying? Because now these people become repeat clients. If you do that and you figure out and you find something, it's like, that's how you create a niche market. So then I then applied that. I thought, well, we like to travel. We don't want to be just stuck here. We're not interested in brick and mortar. My husband thinks the same way as me. We like to move around and experience different cultures and, adventures. So my husband came up with the idea, instead of handwriting those notes, just print it with my handwriting. It's still obvious. People know it's not the point. It's just got a personal touch, and I tell them about it. And then when we traveled around, we would just put these little note cards out into all these very selected homes all around these various cities. First, we did the whole DC area and Maryland and Bethesda. And then we moved on, because we're traveling so much. I've covered all 50 states now. We would just...
It's a never-ending market.
Yeah. We love coffee shops. So we'd first hit the coffee shops, and then we'd go and get our coffee and go last. And then we'd go and look at really cool neighborhoods and go and discover, and then select them, send them out. And I knew that if I kept doing this, it would eventually, and from day one, I always kept email. Here's another really good tip. Not just the email address. I have a spreadsheet and I keep the date, just some general data, and when they asked again for another commission, what it was, they've got the address, So whenever I get tons of repeat buyers, and when they come back to me, Leisa, I love your work. They don't, it's Jenny.
You can go down your list and find them. Yeah.
I can look at their email and search and say, yes, I finally remember your home on Margaret Street in blah. You know what I mean? So
and then they feel even more special again.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You actually genuinely do feel those things for those people, but it also is a good technique to reinforce it with, specialness. And then I'm assuming once you started building this, it kind of reinforced itself a little bit because people start seeing you online. You've got a lot of press. They see you doing this.
Yeah.
It kind of takes on a life of its own. It gathers some momentum.
Well, that's right, too. So I also started the CEO thing early, too. And so if you look, I'm on the first or second page, it flops around on Google if you search for house portrait. But my portrait's a lot higher.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, so I get business from that. I get the email campaigns. I get the note cards. So the other thing I found that I had to do, and I think all artists should think with that, is multiple sources. Like don't just put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
So I have the note cards. I have the online presence. I have the email campaigns. I have social media, which I do, but I never get business from social media. It sort of feeds the fire, right? But I personally haven't made that successful.
I bet you there's a way.
Yeah, I'm sure there is too. But yeah, I'm sure you probably know. But I'm actually looking at that now. But it's a matter of also figuring out. So those are 3 sources of people inflow that I can get new business.
Yeah, like different ways to funnel people to your work.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling everybody, you got to be hitting it from all angles, and I'm not saying like spread yourself thin. Once you find a couple things that work, then put some effort into that. Like I wouldn't say put all your effort into social media. If you've got something that's working for you, it's working for you. But I think it's something that I definitely think there's an angle that you could use moving forward to even build more.
Well, I know you do because I've seen your Instagram and I love your work, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
Colors and just the forms are just so amazing.
Oh, thank you. I actually started out doing a lot of really figurative, representational work. And then all of a sudden one day I was like, I'm an abstract artist, and it just kind of exploded out of me. But thank you. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, we can talk sometime,
I'd love to.
Off the show and talk about some ideas. I was even seeing a really cool documentary of you, because I know you did I watched your video of your process I guess it was like a book teaser trailer, which we're going to get into. But I was almost seeing like a follow-up documentary where you could like travel back to places that you've been, have a camera crew with you, find some of these people who you gave these gifts to, and like, maybe you could document them, not take them from them, but you could take pictures of them and revisit these people and meet them. And I think it could be a great idea. It could be it could be a cool story, So if you get the right person to film it, maybe that would be interesting.
Yeah, but, I love that idea.
And it would be fun to revisit some of your older work, right?
Yeah.
You could end up doing a little retrospective of some of your old travels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, but yeah, that's awesome.
I've noted that down.
Okay, good. Mental note. Yep. The thing that I love about what you're doing, well, there's a lot of things that I love, but I love that you did this kind of grassroots pounding the pavement. It's almost like what people are doing now online, targeted marketing, niche marketing, but you did it from an old school perspective. Like I did that with my wife at one point. I thought I was really smart, and I just started targeting houses in this area that I used to live called Cheviot Hills, which was like really wealthy houses. And I would just drop them a business card or a flyer, but I would just kind of like, throw it in their house or throw it in their mailbox, and nothing ever happened. And I know now why. And it wasn't personalized. It wasn't like nobody's going to pick up your card and be like, oh yeah, let me look up this person who I don't know and just commission them to do a painting. You found a way in. Mm-hmm. And you found a way to make these people special, make their homes special. Yeah. And I think that's amazing. Yeah.
And I think the fact that I love that sort of work, then I really do appreciate what they're doing. And I think homeowners are, the hallmark, really. They're the unsung hero of the whole historic preservation movement across this country. I'd say 95% of all the beautiful historic homes we still have, fortunately, are from homeowners, their blood, sweat, their tears, their love. So I'm truly interested and appreciative. And I think that probably comes through too. You can't.
Oh, that shows in your work.
Like
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see the love in every one of your pieces.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's great. I love it. I was wondering a little bit about your process. Do you, because I know you do some ink, like you ink them first, right?
Yep.
And then you do watercolor on top of that. Are you using that as a technique to let some of the kind of texture of the ink come through? And then are you also inking on top of that when it's done?
No, it's just one ink and one watercolor on top. I use, micron pens. I find them good. And then I just do a pretty detailed ink drawing, no shadows or anything, just the ink, all the lines. But what I do that, again, makes it very special for people, for homeowners, is what I'm sort of known for is I put all the little details in, like they have their special furniture and they have their little, some little statue in the garden. I think, that's pretty interesting. So you don't have to do much. You just have to show it's there and the special flag. Well, that means everything to them. I mean, so I put all that in ink, you see, because trying to do all that detail in watercolor, it's pretty fast when you're doing it in ink, isn't it?
Yes.
And then the watercolor brings all the vibrance, the personality of the house, their colors, their garden. Or if it's winter and the lights shining out of the windows and the warmth and welcomingness of their home and all that sort of thing, right? Yeah. So, I find that combination. You got the crispness and intricate detail of the pen, and then the color and vibrance. And it's a looser thing on that too. It's a bit more sort of the garden, and that people say it's a bit sort of impressionist. Kind of, but you see what I mean? So you've got that. It makes it a bit more magical, and you don't want to steer. I don't anyway. I don't need. It's not supposed to be a rendering of an architectural rendering before you build a house, sort of thing. No, it's capturing the magic of their home and all the memories that's included in that home. It's capturing all that in that painting.
Yeah, it's almost like a time capsule. I love the detail that you put into the work, but that's one thing I was struck by was the detail and the accuracy of it, first of all, and then it almost seemed like you were really capturing an energy of like a specific moment, which was really cool. Like very, very vibrant. I really encourage everybody to check out your work. I know you do a lot of different kind of series with these too. Did you want to talk about any of these different series that you've done?
Well, I mean, I sort of go geographically, like different cities, and I love to compare the architecture of cities. And when you're traveling across country and you go to New Mexico and you've got adobe buildings and you see, so that's what I've tried to capture, that sense of cultural, geographical change that occurs. Everything, it changes from state to state, and it all goes back. And that's what I learned with doing my book. It was actually an interesting experience because I'd have to study about that state and, its history and how it developed and when the railroad came and how that brought in, what sort of houses then became part of that. And
I'm sure if it was like a mining town or if it was an agricultural town. Yeah.
Right. So that's why the book, I think, people have told me they find it so interesting. It's not like a sort of boring historical, I can't say I'm not a scholarly writer. So it's more of some general history and little stories of homes that depict the whole history of the area. And I found that.
And I'm going to plug this book real quick for you. It's called Hand Painted Homes, An Artist's Pen and Watercolor Journey Across America, correct?
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. And you can find that on your website to purchase.
Yeah, or Amazon on my website. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going. I just wanted to get that out there.
Oh, well, thank you. So I guess I segued into that, not even meaning to, but I
love it when they come up organically. I have all the questions here, but it's so much more interesting if we get into it like this. So.
Yeah, well, I've listened to a number of your interviews, and actually I listen to them while I paint.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like a friendly conversation. And I think you do it. You always are so well researched. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And you know what I mean? It just, so it's a meaningful conversation, enjoyable for the guest.
Oh, that's great to hear, because for me, I love to be researched on it. I love to get a really good feel for what each person does. But there's like this one thing that's really important to me, which is not getting so wrapped up in the research that I lose the energy of the conversation. So I'm really trying to listen to and kind of be in the present moment, because so many little gems come out of that. And if you were just like, nope, must stay to the list, you know what I mean? Like a robot, right. It wouldn't be as interesting, I don't think, but I appreciate that.
I agree.
So your book, let's keep talking about the book. When was this released? What was the kind of the impetus for doing the book, and anything you want to say about it?
Sure. Well, as I said, I started in Old Town Alexandria, had a studio there. We lived for 3 years. That's a record for us. And then we were like,
really put down your roots, huh?
Yeah, right. And but it was a lot of fun. We loved it. And then we decided to move out west again, and to another historic area, South Pasadena. We just and we moved around at that same time. Right when we left, I decided I'm going to start my Historic Preservation Award and give out an award, which is an original painting of someone who's taken an old wreck and made it into something beautiful, restored it. So cool. And I would give that, and I would have events along the way when we traveled out west. And that's what we did. We had 5 different events in a week, 10 days on the way back, on going out to the West Coast. So
can I ask you just technically, how did you put these events together?
Well, you see, when I was doing, 25, 30 years on nonprofit world, well, if you're going to make money in the nonprofit world and get your message across, because often it's issues that are very important, like human rights and so forth, you have to really understand public relations and marketing. Yes. So I had all those years of experience from that. And so holding events, and I'm talking from huge concerts and marathons across Europe to smaller little events to press conferences, I've done it all. So
cool.
Right. So
what great training.
Yeah, it really was. It was like on the ground training. And so I had all that experience. So for me, doing these little events, setting it up, finding the person, I would set it up and I always involve the local historic group or some other neighborhood group or the city at times. But I always find myself partners, because I don't have time. I don't know anyone there. Right. They're the ones who have to get people there. They're the ones. I nearly always get the mayor or someone from the city and get some media. So I'd really create a message, and that was my goal. So anyway, as I left the East Coast.
That's cool. I was wondering, it's not just like you show up and people are there,
No, that doesn't happen that way. So, and then, that's how we did it. And we do it at the home or at the place or wherever it was. That was, the awardee. And then there'd always be a reception. People would tour. That would always be something people would love to do, right? Yeah. So as I was doing that, I said to my husband Bruce, like, you know what, we should, I suddenly had this goal, because I knew I love doing this thing, and I love traveling, and I love meeting people and seeing all the history and the homes and the architecture. I said, I'm going to do homes and historic buildings in all 50 states across America. And yes. He's pretty adventurous himself, but he looked at me with right. I said, no, we can do it. I can do it. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I said, I don't know anyone else who's done that, so why don't I do it?
No.
And, we'd also found by that point, we'd found ways to keep the whole, with the note cards and our promotions and the online promotion through SEO and then our email campaign. We'd managed to keep all that going, so we could now move around. I could move around and do my art. You see what I mean? It didn't affect that. They're not cute things generally. So I didn't have to take my studio with me, so to speak. I just what I needed. So I could keep it all going. And
that's very freeing. First of all, I just want to jump in because I know a lot of artists, me personally even, we're so tied down to our studios where you've got a huge studio of large paintings or whatever you're doing, sculpture, and it's hard to be mobile. So I think that's very cool and very freeing as an artist that you're able to do that.
Yeah, but that's what I decided. I had a choice, and in South Pasadena, I had a great big studio. It's really cool, big loft. And so I had a lot of paintings, and that's nice too. It's nice to have a home like that you can bring someone in. It's like a gallery.
Exactly.
That's the way to combine it. But I just thought, I don't want to be stuck down to a location. Why? I want to be able to get up and go. And we want to, if we have an urge, that we can follow our urge. So that was the goal. So we said, well, let's we're going to stay here for a while and then we'll travel here. And then it became, in all our different travels, we've lived in all regions of the United States now, it was always circuitous routes to get there because we had to do this state and that state. And it was always, and it was never, like very, like you say, a rigid list of now we must do this and this and this.
Right,
it was
right.
always like we'd meet someone as I was, traveling through some remote lake place, and they'd say, "You've got to come to our place. We'd have some drinks," and then they'd insist we stay the night, and then so. Now I've got, and so you'd meet people and have adventures along the way. And if you love people, so cool. It's easy. If you love people, and I always find people, and because architecture, that's about people, right?
It is. Yeah.
And that's who
There's
made it.
There's no architecture without people.
No. So that was fascinating. Then a couple of years when, as I was building up more and more, I was keeping account of how many states I'd done. People would keep asking me, like, "You're going to put a book together, right?" Like, well, I wasn't. And then finally, I thought, and they sort of forced me into it. Like, well, you have to put a book together.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm putting a book together. Then I started promoting to everyone how I'm going to put a book together and this and that. I had no clue how I was going to do that. I was threatening to do it, and then
it's a different animal.
Yeah, especially one that's 360 pages, 650 images, a big book. You have to get that printed somewhere. You can't, it's not like
ebook.
No. So,
yeah.
And then, so I'd been sort of trying and thinking about it. And, but it's funny, isn't it? Sitting down, I'm not a bad writer, but sitting down to write and have to confront this whole thing of putting this massive book together with compiling all the images and all the stories and the history. And then COVID hit, didn't it?
Yeah. Right? Oh, right.
After lockdown, I thought, this is the ideal time.
This is the time.
I'm forced inside. This is really, I can't just escape.
Right. Exactly.
That's
exactly. You can escape back into your memories.
Yeah. And that's when I started it in last March. And then I have a friend who's an editor and a designer, and she worked with me closely on it. But I basically did the research and the writing and learned, and you get faster and faster, and so it was a fantastic learning experience. And I kept doing all my other commissions and work because I needed to do that as well.
So you were busy.
I was busy, but then there was, but it's funny, the book's printed. I'm very proud of the book, I was totally happy with it and the quality, it's top quality and all that. And I thought that was the hardest part, but once you've got the book, selling it, marketing it, oh my goodness, that's a whole different world, right? Oh my God. So that's my next
You're talking to another person who self-published 3 books, and they didn't go anywhere because I had no idea how to market them at the time. I might pick it back up later on down the road. Yeah.
No, it's tricky because you got so much competition, but I knew that I already had, like I have 300 sales of the book, but that's just because people are in it. Their homes are in it. I knew I'd be able to get those.
Yeah, you got a little bit of a built-in audience.
Yeah. So that's probably the thing that kept me going, because at least I would. Yeah, that's okay. I'm determined to crack this one too, but I can't say it's been that easy. I only released the book 6 weeks ago.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah, it's early. My one of my good friends actually he used one of my paintings for the cover of his poetry book, and he's been just pushing that for this last year during COVID too. And he's actually been winning some awards, and he's doing really well. But even with that and doing well, it's a struggle. It's an uphill climb.
Yeah. What's interesting, Preston, is that you have your niche market and you built that up. And I have 5,000 on my list, and I have 2,500 clients, right, just on this area. And that's what they know you for. That's what you're an expert in. And so I'd put all this promotion out, like, yes, and buy the book, special, and it's Father's Day, get a book for your,
Yeah,
and,
right.
I guess what I'd get back? I mean, I'd get the odd sale, but So nice to hear from you, Lisa. I'd like another commission, actually.
You're like, well, that's great, but that's not what I'm
I'm like, can you buy the damn book?
You're like, well, how about this? $50. Buy the book first, and then we'll talk about the commission.
Yeah, the commission's like $800, and what's $50? Buy the book.
Right. You'd think they would be all over it.
It's like, yeah.
Well, and how many of those people? So you said, I guess there's 650 different homes in the book.
Yeah, different homes, but then not all of them are homeowners, and some of them, they had their home was commissioned by someone else, so it's not.
Oh, gotcha.
So you could say that like actual owners, there would be around 350, 400, something like that. And
so you got a pretty good percentage of those.
Yeah, I actually sold 250.
Oh wow!
In advance, yeah. Nice. And then the rest I've sold from there, yeah.
And the rest are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Just 1,000.
Well, and hopefully a few more people.
2,000. I got 2,000 printed, and it's the first time in my whole career, as an artist over 10 years, that I ever took a loan. I'd never had to take a loan.
Oh wow!
Fortunately, because I found my beat finally, after a few months, and it would fund everything, my travel, everything we'd do, and I go back and forth to New Zealand. So I had to be pretty okay in terms of regular income, but the book is just something else.
It is a different animal for sure.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully a few people will come over. I know this is a podcast, but hopefully a few people will listen and go, I need one of those books. So buy the book.
That's right.
Tell us about the Historic Preservation Award. That's something that you did basically kind of to give back, right? And something that you're passionate about. But tell us a little bit about it. Yeah,
and I tell you my impetus why I started it. It's like when I first started out with my art career here in the United States, there was in Old Town Alexandria, there was awards. People would tell me you're supposed to get awards. If you get awards and you enter these competitions and they're juried and all this, your chances of success is so much greater. Right. And so I thought, well, let me check that out,
Right.
And I entered a couple, and one of them, this is what really killed it for me and why I decided to go my own way. Again, Old Town Alexandria, it was the biggest it's like an art factory. It was what was it called? Oh, I'll think of the name. But so it's a brick building, a beautiful building right on the water, the Potomac River, and they were doing a contest and deciding who could be part of their artist community, because they'd get people there. And I was told, if you get in there, you just get so many sales. It's just going to be wonderful. So I said, okay, well, I can try. I entered my work. It's very detailed. You have to put it all in. And so then they inform you, should you pick up your work or what I got my little invite to go and pick up my work. And I said, so, okay, I can see I wasn't selected, but I asked the woman there, like, well, who was selected then? Which artist? Because there's some fantastic artists here. I've seen their work. Love it. So which ones were selected? I'd love to know. And then she was like, Denard. And I said, yeah, just their names. I'd love to see their work. Well, actually, we didn't select anybody.
Whoa.
This whole contest was about that. It was juried. I said, so what do you mean? And she goes, well, what happened is that, the jurors thought that really nothing came up to par and it wasn't quite good enough. And so no one was selected.
What?
Are you kidding me?
Was this a scam?
No, this was the Torpedo Factory is what they're called. It's like a big, I've been there for years. And they have got beautiful little studio galleries, and
they were just above everybody, all the work they got.
That's what did it for me. Like, man. Are you kidding me? They're so up themselves that, really that and I had seen the work. I'd seen it. It was laid out. It wasn't true that it was just a bunch of amateur stuff at all. Sure, some wouldn't be, and I didn't consider mine in the top strata, but I could see others that absolutely should have been there. So I'm thought, I'm sick. I hate this award thing. And then I started to ask, then I went around the torpedo factory. I thought, let me find out from these artists here how much money they're making, right?
I love this. I love that you're doing this research.
I said, I'm going to do my own investigation.
Special investigation, Leisa Collins.
I know, at least, and if nothing else, I'll feel better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I started just moseying around and say, oh, I love your work. And, oh, how long have you been here? Oh, 5 years. And, and how you must have a big clientele. You must be making good living from this. Oh, no. They would look at me like, are you crazy? Like, oh, no, my dear, I'm not making my living. But I mean, it's a great community. I love being here. I said, you're not selling stuff? So, like, you're not making, no, but my husband supports me. I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Holy shit. So I went around all these others, right?
Well, good for you, but.
Yeah. And besides like 10% who are known artists and, and they had their following, and maybe 10, 15, the rest weren't even making their living, weren't even making hardly any money, just the odd sale. So
people can't see me nodding, but I'm nodding ferociously.
And yet I was told, look, if you get in, torpedo factory, oh, you've got it made. See, that was my point. Don't accept information from people without looking for yourself and inspecting and investigating. You see,
not only that, but there's a lot of, like, when I came up and I was coming out of college and I was researching how to break into the business and whatnot, and which of course they taught you nothing in school about that. But when I was doing all the research, I figured, like, look, I can go this route. Once I get in with the right gallery, everything's like, set for me. Then I'll make a living. I'll have all my clients. They'll be filtered through them. I can just paint and be taken care of. Whatever. 20 years later, I'm represented by a gallery now that I love. But I would tell you, Mike Collins, who shares your last name, by the way, Michael Collins, who owns a gallery, he wouldn't tell any artist, look, you get in with me and you've got it made. That's a farce. So you have to find your own way. I know that's what we want to talk about too. Mm-hmm. Each artist has their own path, and there's no one way. And if something works for one artist, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I'm not surprised to hear you say that most of the artists there were not making a living through there.
Well, I was sort of shocked. I must admit, at the time, I was shocked.
At the time, yeah.
But that was the wake-up call. And then I decided, okay, I think that you'll understand this, Preston, because you can either be interested in life, in your art, in people, or you can demand interest, try to be interesting.
Right.
So many artists are trying to be interesting, so that people think their work's so cool and they thrive on the admiration instead of getting out there into the world and being interested in others and doing subjects and things that are of interest to you, but also people being interested in people and their subjects and their homes and
you're
their
painting right now. Put down your brush and listen to what Lisa's saying.
Yeah, but you see what I mean. So I decided, okay, screw that. I'm not gonna. This is demeaning. Going into these contests, and then I also did a little investigation and found out people with blue ribbons, red ribbons, and I said, has it really helped your sales? I never had anyone say it did.
Right.
So no one has said, not that it hasn't, I just didn't talk to everybody, but I'm just saying a cross section, right? That was the other thing. So I said, you know what, I'm going to just be interested in others. I'm going to award other people. I'm going to have the Leisa Collins Historic Preservation Award, right? Sounds very, very good, right?
This is amazing. Yeah.
To really cool, amazing people around the country who really deserve it, and have events and get media. So a lot of the media you see on the website and that is from those events and this activity.
And you've got a lot of press on your website.
Yeah, thank you. And
New York Times, LA Times, Huffington Post, Voyage LA, San Antonio Express, The Oregonian. I could go on and on.
You're well read. Yeah, but it's the proactive. The media want to follow someone who's proactive. So, about the award, they might mention the book and about me completing the series in that city and in my, tours across America. So I decided, I'm just going to be interested in others. And that's what's going to propel my career and my force. And that's what I'm going to enjoy, in meeting people and making them feel good, producing a painting of a home that they just in love with, and they see it every day and it makes them smile. Well, to me, then I've done something those are good acts for the day. I've helped people that day, the next day, the following weeks. You see what I mean? I just got into the mode of like, instead of me trying to get accolades and me trying to get approval and me trying to get, awards. No, don't go the other way.
Well, what I love about that is all of those things are a healthy byproduct of that and of your passion, of you doing things and being interested in other people. A healthy byproduct of that is it comes back around to you, but it comes back around organically. It's not like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. You're doing something, you're putting your work out there, you're doing good, you're paying it forward, and you can't help but get some of that attention back on you. That's a healthy byproduct of it. And that's beautiful. That's how it should be. Yeah. So I love that. It's kind of similar with, what I did with the podcast and some of these, shows that we're curating. We're actually doing a juried show for Shockbox right now. And a lot of it just came from like wanting to give opportunities to artists, but also kind of scratch my own itch in the process, get to know more people, discover more people like you and develop relationships with people. And nothing but good stuff has come out of that. And I'm assuming that is similar with this award. I'm sure it's
true. I would get more commissions. I'd get media. I'd get reaches for people. And just like you are, I mean, I think what you're doing with the podcast is awesome, by the way. I know it's a lot of work, and you put that work into it, because I can tell.
A lot of
work. Because you make it professional. You do your research. You find out all about it. You have really awesome guests. So I'm honored to be on the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, hey, you're welcome. It's you're going to be great. I know people are going to get a lot of information from you.
Oh, that's good. That's
good. Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we're trying to help other artists out. And then also, we do have people who just love art who are going to be listening and hopefully, get a couple more book sales out of it too. But at the very least,
I don't care.
We pay it forward, and help. Like, I wish I had something like this when I was coming up. I had nobody, and everybody in the art world at the time, for me, maybe it was partially my perspective, but it seemed so standoffish, like everybody was basically saying, stay out. We don't need you in here. I want to be more inclusive than that. And I know it sounds like you do too.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that so many artists, it's always like, well, what can I get out of it? Should I get involved with it's like, I never went into, I get commission work and I get new work from my award and my events and my media, but I never look at it that way. I stopped doing that at first, maybe, but after. Same with the show. I'm not doing it because I want to sell books or for any reason other than to forward my message, and hopefully it will help other artists and provide them with some ideas and tips. That's it. So if you go ahead with that, like not what you can get, but what you can give, it's actually a lot more rewarding for yourself and others. That's
and
what
you're also a happier person. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, if you're just doing everything for yourself, even if you get it, you're not going to be happy.
No.
So I'm all about what you're saying. Oh, and I wanted to say real quick, you're also, I think you're an art storefronts artist, a fellow art storefronter. Yeah. A couple of people I've had on here, Amy Smith and somebody else I'm blanking on, are also art storefronts artists. How do you like them? I think you have like a little bit of a fragmented website. Like one is maybe, is it not with art storefronts? And then if you go to your shop, it's with art storefronts. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I integrated the shop because my website gets so much traffic for my normal work, and it's got my press and all the other stuff. I made it like the shop, the art shop or store, I forget what it's called, on my website. That's how I integrate it. I see, like yours is just, it's your website.
Yes.
But for me, it's just a sideline. I'm trying something new. I'm taking some work that I've done and selling it. And that's the other new thing I'm trying, like to make prints rather than having to do original art to make you money every single, which I like, but it's nice to, I love also helping other artists and mentoring and doing all those things. Well, that takes time. So I'd love to be putting more time into that sort of thing instead of and get out of the studio more. So that's why only a few months. I've only had it up like maybe 3 months or something.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I'd love to talk to you about that because I'm sure it must be working pretty well for you. Is it?
Well, it's funny because I do sell originals. I have sold prints, but I don't know if my art maybe I just haven't been pushing it well enough on the site, but I do get the odd print order. But I would assume that your work would really cater well towards prints. But it's a big pool though. It's like there's a lot of competition. Art Storefronts is great. And have you been following any of their, like they have a little blueprint for success. Have you been following any of that?
Yeah, I have been following some of that, like some giveaways and this and that. Just really started. I haven't got too into it just yet, just starting it and have someone helping me who does that because I just don't have time to do it all myself.
Oh, yeah.
She helped build the site. She's brilliant. But no, I don't really sell. I'm not selling a lot on that site yet, And it's like, whoa. So where do you mainly sell, for example?
It's like anything else. It takes time. It just takes time.
When they say that, and they to their credit, they do make that very clear, but it's just a matter of I'm sort of trying to figure out how I can take my niche market and all my clients and then integrate them into Art Storefronts, like with merch, with different things. So, and my books on the Art Storefronts too.
Yes.
So, that's a fun for that. So it's a matter, I'm sort of in the throes of, really, it's funny, isn't it? Like you can't, as an artist, you make it in one area and I can say, I'm quite successful at the commissioned art and architecture, and that's where I've made my name.
Definitely.
Niche market. But if you just waltz out into another part, like trying to now put prints of general stuff that you've done and then expect it's like you have to start from scratch. And that's what Patrick at Art Storefront says too, And I like their approach because they're very honest. You know what I mean?
They are honest.
Like, we will get you 6 figures within. I was like, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Just take this magic pill and you'll be a billionaire. Yeah, the art world is crazy like that too. I tell this to people so many times, like you can be killing it as an artist and just getting by. You know what I mean? You can't be. And now I don't subscribe to that. I don't put that out there. Like I know the sky's the limit for people like you and I and anybody listening who has the drive to do it and talent. I think the sky's the limit. You can make a lot of money as an artist, but you can also be doing extremely well and just squeaking by as an artist. And I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I do too.
You do too?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the art prints thing is just, it's like the book. It's another animal. I think there's a way to do it. You say you come up pretty, you said second on Google on a Google search?
No, on the first or second page, but that's for my niche market, house portrait. It isn't for just in general, the work I do that isn't a commission, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So, but I wonder if you could push the prints there somehow a little bit,
Yeah, I got it.
Or if it's worthwhile. I don't know. Maybe it's not worthwhile. Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out. I just gotta, often if the lack of resources you have, the bigger the bright idea has to be.
It's so true. And you're also, you're spreading yourself thin. You're doing so many things. I'm doing so many things. It's hard to just like refocus. Okay, now I'm gonna pour like what extra energy, what extra time am I gonna pour into this?
Right.
Yeah. So as soon as we have a team of like 10 people working for us, we can take over the world. If you're Banksy and you just start selling prints and art friends, I'm sure you'll probably start selling them. But yeah, it's tough. But you're also, you said 3 months into it, Google has to do all that crawling and figure out your website and all that. I would not be surprised if it starts to gain momentum pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I'm definitely following Art Storefronts on the social media and posting every day and doing all that because I know I wasn't. And you really have to. They have a formula, and it's just a matter of following that formula.
It is. And I was doing it for a while, and I'm don't hate on me, Art Storefronts, but I kind of stopped. I started doing my own thing. For me, you asked about me. I get a lot of sales from other art marketplaces, and they take a commission, but I get a pretty steady stream of sales from like a handful, 5 art marketplaces. And then I will get the odd sale on my website and the odd print on my website. And ideally you want to be having it go through your website so you don't have to pay a commission, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
But a sale is a sale in my
That's
book.
Right. Look, I think it's more important to keep the flow going than worry about not getting every cent and a commission going somewhere. I don't really care about that.
I don't either. And you're getting exposure.
So you mainly in galleries like brick and mortar or online places?
Both. I do. I'm represented by Shockbox.
Okay.
I don't, and they're on Artsy. And then I do I do gallery shows like I do with BG Gallery from time to time. And I've been in a lot of, I used to focus really heavily on galleries. And then I kind of I got tired of it because I wasn't selling nearly enough to make a living.
Yeah.
And I just decided to take the power back and focus my stuff online. So I would say about 80% of my sales come from online.
Yeah, that's smart because it's a lot of work, isn't it? Like lugging in a lot of work and setting them up and then getting them again. And oh my goodness.
People not even showing up, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're left there with all this wine and cheese.
Exactly.
Ever experienced that?
I mean, I'm sure you've been in a lot. I've been in like 50 plus shows at this point. Like I'm not in a rush to do another show. If the right one comes along, I'll do it. But I'm focusing on other stuff. So I see you're also doing an art blog on your website, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Did you start that also as kind of like a giving back to other artists thing?
No, it was mainly, I started it way back when I built a website 10 years ago, and it's just little stories and activities like the latest story. Locally, there's this church here. It's beautiful, old church, 140 years old. And I am helping them. They're just about to do a whole big restoration and turn it to its art center. It's a gorgeous church.
Oh, cool.
Rectory building. So I did a painting of what it will look like when it's fully done with all the stained glass put back. And then we had a community event a week ago and unveiled it. And, all the community brought in all these people and 250 people came. So I did a whole story about that on my blog. So I like anything that I'm doing like that, I use my blog to promote that activity. Again, I did it as to help and to sort of spread that message of let's save old buildings rather than just destroying them. Because the sad thing is that the stat on it is that every single day in America, hundreds of historic homes are lost to either mainly to demolition, or decay sometimes, but mainly demolition. Hundreds every single day are gone.
Oh, wow.
The sad thing about it, it's not like a painting or a poem. You can at least hand that over,
Sure.
You take down one of these old buildings, which was really an art form in their craftsmanship and what they did and how
all the little details.
Yeah. So you tear that down, it's gone forever. It's gone from the landscape. You never see it again. You see what I mean? So it's
really sad.
Cultural history of the community and how it came about, that you've destroyed that at the same time. So I got a very strong message, and that's what my book is about too, hey, let's change that mindset. Let's look at how could we repurpose it. You can't save every building, but I mean, you could repurpose it. You could make a cool loft. You could make it into an art studio. You could do all sorts of things with these older buildings, So
well, that's something that's cool too. You could turning it into an art studio is great because you're also, building on the culture of the area too. We talk about that a lot recently about like gentrification and how it drives so many artists. And I mean, broad terminology, artists out of the community. And it would be cool to bring them back in with some historic buildings. That would be really cool.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking too, that, because they can't afford it, but if you can make it affordable, you could bring all that energy back into these communities as they gentrify, because it's the gentrification that is, let's face it, that's bringing money in, and that's helping to keep these buildings standing.
Yes, definitely.
Right? So you got to, and economically bringing people. So if you can bring the arts into the area as well, bring them back, then it makes it so much more worthwhile.
It's about balance, right? I mean, because a little bit of gentrification is good and understandable, bringing some money in, like enhancing the community, making places nicer. But if you're integrating also the culture and artists and making some of, having some affordable housing or affordable studios or whatever it is to balance that out. I mean, I think that's the way we got to look at it moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so I like to use my blog to sort of promote my issues and things that I think are important and community spirited. And like, for example, I'm doing a series actually of affordable housing complexes that are really the coolest thing you've ever seen.
Oh, cool.
By a company based in South Carolina. And they're actually making like these, so often they're just horrible. They're sterile, these low income housing, and but these aren't. They have many that have a swimming pool and a whole community area, like a community center
Oh,
and a
nice.
playground, and they're really different. And this company's very proud of it, so they want to have me do a series of paintings of that. So I'll
Cool.
finish the first one. I'm doing the second one. They've got 20 of them coming. So doing a whole project on that and promoting, hey, even in a low income home in complex can be an art form. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Let's keep it beautiful. Put some flowers there, and have pride, and and also give respect to these people who might not have a big income, but they can still make the place beautiful and enjoy where they live. It's a human right, having a place to live that you like to live, that's housing, and you know what I mean.
I think taking pride is the key thing you said there, in where you live, no matter where it is. I mean, you can tell that to some of my neighbors. I mean,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it really, it goes a long way to make life more beautiful.
It really does. You don't have to, oh, well, I don't have the money to do that. Well, you don't need a lot of money. You can slap a coat of paint. Okay. You don't, on the porch and the railing, and, you can do little and grow some things, and, you know what I mean? And put
it
a
makes a huge
there.
difference. Right. Yeah. Or just take care of your lawn. We got some people who just throw out these huge bulk items just right on the street, and it sits there for like 3 months. And my wife and I, we have to call to have it picked up. It's just like, what are you doing? You're like dumping right outside of where you live, and you don't care. I don't get it. So
I don't either.
I knew you would understand.
I totally understand.
Yeah. So what are they doing with these paintings? That's a great project. It sounds awesome. Are they going to be collecting those and putting them somewhere, displaying them somewhere? Or?
Well, they plan, to have a whole display in their sort of main headquarters. Cool. and promote that for new projects, because they need funding for this. It's not just, I forget exactly how it's done, but they do need often government grants and other funding that go with it. It's not just commercial. So they feel that by presenting it like art forms, and showing how lovely these are, that it will encourage other really nice projects and give these young families and so forth more of a chance, So I think once they get it up and running, they should I'll encourage them to have a big event and an opening and bring people there. I can come down and maybe give them an award, or something like that. Validate them for what they're doing. It's a very courageous thing to do.
And they would not expect that.
Yeah.
How often are people giving them the awards? I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk to you quickly about, because you talked a little bit about your newsletter, and I know you are great at capturing emails and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. For artists listening, I think a lot of people still are not sold on the whole newsletter thing, but it's still very powerful. And I just wanted to find out from you, how often do you send out a newsletter? Do you have any tips on collecting emails? I know Art Storefronts has the whole fishbowl technique and all that, but do you have anything you'd like to share on the newsletter?
Well, one thing, when I have events, I generally collect quite a few addresses. When I first started, here's a tip. I had no one on my list, and I always thought, I'm going to build my list real fast. Yeah. So when I meet people, I'm walking around, I tell them I'm an artist, I show them some work. We just get in conversations at a cafe, anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'd come back with 20 names.
Oh, wow.
Everything. You see, so what I'd say, I just get in communication with them, be interested in them. Yes. And tell them then they want to know what you do. And you do paintings of these? Yes. And by the way, give me here's a piece of paper. Give me your name and put your name. I want your email and your phone number there, please, because I want to make sure you're on my email list so that I invite you to shows. I can't wait for us to stay in touch.
Yeah. That's
perfect. You know what? I've never, ever in all these years had anyone say they don't want to not give me their name.
Oh my God, that's a great lesson, because I think a lot of artists are afraid of that. They're not very social or whatever. They're shy. And they think if they ask, somebody's going to say no. And first of all, if somebody says no, who cares, right?
Who cares anyway?
Out of 100, who cares? Yeah. But that's amazing. Nobody
Nobody. And I can't even believe it myself. Like,
Wow.
because I would do it in such a point of enthusiasm, though. Oh,
yes.
yeah. I don't ask them, would you like to be on my, no, why? Don't
Yeah.
ask them.
Yeah.
Tell them you're doing them a favor. You know, you'll have the honor of being on my list.
Right. Well, there's the wrong way to do it, right? There's the person who comes up to everybody and just before they even get a chance to talk to them, oh, would you like, I'm an artist. Would you like to be on my list? That's the wrong way to do it. So
that's the wrong way.
You're communicating the same way you are with your art and everything else you do. You're genuinely interested in the other person, which is great. Yeah.
And then so that's one way. That's just, I'd say, like, I'd pick up names, like just going around.
Yeah.
And that's on planes and everywhere. I just do it as a general thing. Then if I have a show or I make sure I have a book, and I don't just leave it there for someone to sort of look at and maybe get a few names. I have it sitting there, but whenever I have a conversation with anybody, and there's always lots of conversations. Oh, here, did you put your name in my? Oh, here, put it there. You've got to be on my list. We've got to stay in touch, right?
This is a great lesson.
Yeah.
Great lesson.
Yeah. So, and then the other way,
I've been bad at this too, Leisa. I've had the book out. I'm like, oh, just put the book out. I'll get a bunch of names. I've had like one person sign up, and it's like somebody you already know.
Yeah, on top of it, right?
Yeah, right.
It's already on your list. Yeah, that's just what you needed. The other way I do it, when I send, I don't even do the note cards that much anymore because I just get so much. I knew that if I just kept that going, I would gradually, word of mouth would spread. So from those initial, promotional thing with the note cards, I now get lots of response and commissions every single week from around the country, all over.
Cool.
Because they get second ones and then someone hears about it and their neighbor, and it just goes on and on.
Yeah, word of mouth.
But from that initial action. So now every time I get an email from somebody, I'm interested in this, or they might not come, probably every time I do get an email, probably 60%, I would say, become a commission. Right. So I'm pretty good. Yeah, that's my stat.
That's really good.
But even so, every time who sends a response to me like that, I put them on my email list. Now, I didn't ask them really. So you could say, but they did. I didn't spam them either. They came to me interested.
Exactly.
And
it's almost like implied.
Right. And so the funny thing is, is they're part of my 5,000 email list. Well, no one complains about that.
And if they want, they can always just unsubscribe.
They can unsubscribe, but no one's ever said, like, you put me on your list.
How dare you?
They don't do that. And so it's not even an issue, right?
Yeah.
So I use that. So I get new ones on my list from that. And then there's social media. So we're using we're doing the Instagram and we're getting new names. And I'm building my Instagram followers. I think I started at 200 because I haven't worked on it, but with my girl who's working for me and helping me on that, we just passed 500. Whoopie-doo, Yahoo! Right?
Yeah, hey, that's fast growth though.
So, yeah, but it's not bad, and it's organic.
Exactly.
It's totally organic. So
you're not buying them. You're not buying a fake Instagram people.
And then your newsletter. Well, my newsletter. I don't even get new signups from the newsletter. I just use that as a way to communicate to all my clients and all the people on my list what I'm doing, issues about my book, if that's the case. Here's a really cool story. It's sort of like their romance emails, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I'll have a sale, but very, very occasionally. I don't even do that much these days. I hardly ever offer sales these days on commissions. And I just feel that if I give I found it more successful to give interesting content and stories. People love stories, I did a story. I went back to New Zealand a couple of years ago, and the one place where I had my first exhibit was beautiful Victorian. I went back. This is a true story. I was so excited, and it's not there. And in this place, among all these beautiful Victorians on this lovely historic enclave, is this massive cylindrical white, like the mothership just landed type building. Oh no. Right. So I did a whole story on that. And I had all I had of this old home, this old beautiful historic building where I had my first exhibit, and I had all these artist friends, and it was apartments. It was a sketch of it. And so I showed that in this ripped up dog-eared thing with the massive thing above. And so that got a lot of traction on social. And that went as my newsletter, for example. So sometimes my newsletter is a number of things on items and I link to my blog post, but often it's just one single story that I feel would have impact. And then I put and the reline is really important. It's hard to get things open these days. So I remember my reline.
Oh yeah, getting people to actually open it.
Yeah, it was like, why did they tear it down? Exclaim.
Yes, right.
This massive thing going up in the sky. Like, what the hell is that about? You try to pull them in with mystery, right?
Yeah, well, it's clickbait, It's what the new. I think people are conditioned to be like that now. Really, I mean, there's so much clickbait, and you can do it in a positive way. Like if you're getting people to come in and see a story for art, that's fine. But getting me to click and read the next COVID headline for the 500th time today.
I know.
Yeah, but
well, you know what? I think another key successful action of mine, Preston, is that I try to stick with the positive. It's something just by being positive, you're being unique these days.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree.
Like when we had this community event with the church. Okay, we had a big showing. It was a rainy day and we were worried, but tons of people showed up and they were excited and right from my local East Hills neighborhood. And they've got this little neighborhood thing, you know how they have the online neighborhood thing. You post stories.
Yes.
I get stories every day. These stories would come in. I lost my cat. My car got stolen. Did anyone know why that turtle was eating my old bread in the back?
Yeah, the woman was cited again stealing another package.
Right,
yeah,
and so
a lot of those.
I did. Yeah. Well, I thought, why don't I use this? I never see anything like this, so I did. Everybody's welcome to it's a community unveiling of a painting which shows this beautiful old church, and our community is going to be a wonderful arts center. Well, I got all this response like, wow, that's a really unusual post.
Yeah.
And then
that's a great idea.
Yeah. And just that alone brought a lot of people, right? And then after the event, I had photos of the community leader.
Because that's an engaged community.
Right. Yeah. So I put photos and validated the people who really made it happen in this community and said, thank you so much, East Hill neighbors. Well, they said they'd never seen a post like that either.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Instead of problems and I mean, of course, it's okay to do that too, but it's just like, do we have to harp on that? Why don't we put something that's engaging, that's live, that's good news, you see?
Right, because you're right. The neighborhood thing is kind of fear-mongering on a smaller level. I always hear was that, it would be like fireworks and like gunshots heard again. And it's like, it was fireworks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. People are just trying to drum up some attention. Yeah. I think that's amazing to use that as a channel and to, bring some positivity in there as well. I'm all about the positivity too. Every once in a while I get pushback from artists because I don't know what it is, but it's hard to get artists to be positive. It's hard sometimes, but I think it goes a long way. And I think once you kind of promote other people, you show engagement with them, you're a champion of them, because we're all a community. If you're doing well, I'm doing well, or at least you're doing well, I see possibility of where I can go as well.
Yeah, I think so. And then it tends like if you're positive, you'll attract people who are also positive.
Yes.
And they will, increase your positivity and outlook. And you see what I mean? That's what
infectious.
And it's the other way. It works the other way too.
Yeah, it's infectious.
It's not really healthy. And I sort of try to promote when I do mentoring to my artists. I say, look, surround yourself with positive people and focus on that. And that person who's always said, it's a pity your work's not up to par, but I know you're trying. It's like, get them out of your life.
Get them out of your life. And also, some of them can be family members, and I'm not saying get them out of your life, but maybe don't share certain things with them.
Yeah.
Because like, for example, I'll use my parents, love you, mom and dad, but I'll say like, oh, I did this show or whatever. Like, first question is, did you sell anything? Or like, how much did you sell that for? Or like, they always want to know on a monetary level everything. So I just stopped telling them, of like, I'll share with you something good when I have it. I don't need you to diminish what I'm doing. Like if it was a great show or I had a great turnout or something, if it's just about monetary, what I made from it, then you're always going to be disappointed, So, or they're always going to be disappointed. It's never enough anyway. Even if I sold 3 paintings, it's like, wow, 10 paintings, So,
Exactly.
but I
Yeah.
love that. Stay positive. I've got a couple rapid fire questions that I always do at the end, but I
Yeah.
want to ask you one other question first. I actually just, give you kudos for this as well. I love your realtor closing gifts. And I'm going to say, I
Oh.
also had a realtor that I worked with at one point, and it's like I half-assed tried a couple of these things that you've been very successful with. I was just like, look, if I know you're talking to people are interested in houses, just drop my name or whatever, and I can
Yeah.
try to sell them a painting. But it was like a half-cocked idea, but you
Mhm.
went at it 100%. So tell people what you're doing with this, with the realtor closing gifts.
Well, again, I'd locate most of these realtors. It was funny in Old Town Alexandria was the stomping ground, and I would put out flyers and leave some invitations to realtor offices, right? To
Mhm.
come and nothing, right? Because you're approaching them. That means you're
Yeah.
desperate. You want their business.
Yep.
Instead, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do my cards, go to people. And then I found two really big realtors
Yeah.
in the area because they got a card in their house because I had selected their home.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so now if I look at my biggest realtors, and I have one who I've now done about 30 or 35 paintings, and I do them every year, and I have one who I do them every month, high-end realtors too, because,
Mhm.
they're nearly all originally from being within that demographic, and I saw their home and thought, wow, that's a lovely, well-loved home. I'm going to select that as part of my series. And those realtors then have blossomed into other things. So again, it's finding
You're finding like-minded people almost.
yeah, the right demographic who have a beautiful home, believe in spending money on that home. And so the homes they want to get and the paintings they want to get for those special clients they're the ones who are going to spend that money. You get a lot of realtors who are pretty cheap, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
They just give a bottle of something, and even if it's quite an expensive home, they don't want to, and you know what they get,
Oh,
the
yeah.
percentage, it's like, hello.
They can make more than you in a year in one
Yeah.
commission. Yeah.
And so when I would first get some reproaches, I would say, that there is no better gift you could give your client. You can give a $500 gift basket, which they're going to consume if in 2 weeks. It's all over.
Yeah. Or
Or
a
if you
plant that's
give
going to
a
die.
small painting for $500 that's original. It's archival quality, the paper, the pen, everything about it. If you give something like that, it sits on their wall, and it just, every time they look at it, it's like, we love our realtor. We love our realtor. It's an
Yes.
evergreen. And the statistic is that on average, most people move every 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got a lot of clients, you're getting moves and people. So it's the same with doing paintings as closing gifts, because they're moving, they're getting their new house done now, or their clients. And, for someone who has everything, if you're buying a $2 million home, you don't need a lot of stuff. You don't need wine.
Exactly.
You don't even need that. But someone who, has from scratch, totally quality, beautiful painting that now has presented that home that they loved and cherished.
It's personalized.
It's a work of art. Yeah. Oh, now that's different. That is something unique. You can't go and buy that anywhere. Or you see what I mean? So,
well, not only are these people who are living there going to cherish this forever, right?
Yeah.
And also potentially could end up being a collector's item for them. Who knows? It's also going to get repeat business for the realtor. The realtor is going to be, we remember this realtor. They gave us this great gift, and we were thinking about going with this person, but let's stay with her.
That's right. That's exactly what happens.
For sure.
So, that's just sort of one channel. It's another, channel, but that's been pretty successful too.
That's amazing. I love that. When I saw it, I started smiling. I was like, this is great. She's doing this perfectly. It's another one of those kind of win-wins for everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody loses in that at all.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's great. Well, I'm going to start doing a couple rapid fires, and I'm sure you probably, if you've listened to a couple of these, some of them already. I always talk about the superpower. Do you ever have a moment where you're not feeling creative? I don't really get blocks, but whatever. It's just, you're just not feeling it that day. And what do you do to get back into the creative mindset?
What I do is, and I've listened to some of your other shows, and it's sort of, I know often it's music and you zone out into the music. I don't do that. I actually, if I start listening to music and things like relaxing, that's when I don't feel like doing anything. So I actually,
like, I'm going to go to sleep.
I'd rather turn on, listen to a podcast and something that's inspirational, or something I'm learning from, or something interesting, or an issue, or because it sort of gets your mind thinking. And a lot of my work, like this is like this one here, it's sitting right here on my painting table. I just finished it yesterday, right?
Oh, cool. Well,
this is, I don't have to do, it's not like original, like new, never done before. Some art like that you have to put your full focus on, but there's other art that you get so good at. I mean, I've done 2,500, 3,000 of these in 10 years. So you get pretty good at it, right? And you're following something. And so I can listen and absorb and get inspired and keep working. And that, rather than the drudgery of just sitting here by myself and just drawing away, I can be learning. I feel like that time is not only creating, which I enjoy, but I'm also expanding my knowledge, getting ideas. I take notes and all that sort of thing. So to me, it makes it, really worthwhile.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, and, if you're an interested person or not interesting. If you're an interested person, you will be an interesting person, right? And your artwork will probably be. I think people who lose that kind of curiosity in their life, it can become stale. Not only your art, but your life in general. So I love to hear that. Okay, so I'm going to keep asking this question, even though I get pushback on it. I think it's just people don't like the wording of it. But I talk about biggest failures, something that hasn't gone well in your life. And what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think when I first started, like my decision 10 years ago, I'm going to do my art full time. And then I sort of tried everything. And this is the first year in Old Town Alexandria before I really found a market, So I would do everything you could possibly think of. I'd say I could do any commission, and I sort of can. I would be running around. And I wasn't succeeding. If I made, 500 to 1,000 a week, I'd be jumping up and down. Now it'd be like, what? Only that much in a week? But, so it was sort of disheartening and demoralizing. And I was trying to enter those shows and do things that, I was listening to other people, and I was trying to follow their advice, like that whole torpedo factory thing. And
yes,
I had a lot of work putting that together, and then so I sort of felt, well, if I'm going that normal route, I'm a failure, because I'm not going to make it this way, because I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And it's not, I'm not having wins from this. So that's when I use that failure point to think, okay, how can I make this go right? It's, like I said, I try to live by the fact if the less resources you have, the more impossible it looks, the brighter the idea has to be, right? To counteract. So I thought, well, I got to get bright. And that's when I went for that walk. And I looked and I said, well, who's got my money? You stand in the middle of the street and I'm like, well, I love those buildings. And then I just walked and I thought, yeah, that's it. That's what and then once I decided that, then it was a matter of, I went through the whole process of how do I reach them? And again, there was, it wasn't easy. And it was some failures. Like, I can't believe they didn't, those door handles things on the hand, they were just the most beautiful looking things.
Yeah.
And to get nothing, not even one response, so.
Well, and that can be demoralizing, and you could have easily given up right then.
Easily, like, well, there's no way then. And, but I just was determined. So you just got to persist and realize that, look, if nothing else on my door handle promotion and my cards that were people hated, the first ones, if nothing else, I've just learned a really good lesson. I'm never doing that again.
Right.
I will not ever do that again. That's what I know. What should I do? I don't know, but at least I know I won't do that again. I can
scratch that one off the list. Yeah. Well, also there's another lesson there that's great. And I think this happens a lot. I think people have great ideas. I know I've had this personally in my own life. I'm always coming up with ideas, and you know that idea, like you had that one. It was kind of an aha moment, like everything makes sense. And then you tried to put it into action and you didn't get the results right away. It's so funny that sometimes it's just that little tweak, it's the little different angle that you haven't tried that made it just all work. Because if you could have just been like, this is a great idea. Why isn't it working? Screw it. Nothing ever works for me. I'm not doing this, but you were persistent, but you knew you had a great idea and you tweaked it a little bit. You did a little more research and you found out the right path to make it work.
Yeah. And I have a good example of that. It was sort of right at the same time. There was this big art festival, the biggest one they have in Northern Virginia, like 50,000 people go to it. And so naturally I shared a booth with somebody and I had my paintings, Old Town and some homes. I thought, I'll make a killing and get commissions. Okay. The day wears on. You can't leave, right? It's 3:00 in the afternoon. It doesn't, nothing, I'd sold a few note cards, like whoopie-doo. And so, I felt I hadn't really done too much like that. And I don't really enjoy it because I felt like I was a monkey at the zoo or something,
I know.
And you're sort of out there. And then you try to engage people in comments. Oh, I don't want to, because they don't want to, you know what I mean? It's not like you have approached them or getting, it's just sort of weird. And
it is weird.
So I made I'm just, so it's not too enjoyable. But then I made a bet with my fellow friend, my artist. I said, okay, I've got 1 hour. I'm going to come back with 3 commissions. Like, what do you mean?
Yes.
Right? So in this community, it's one of those porch communities. I loved it. Delray. There were people in the gardens. It was a lovely day. And I thought, I'm just going to approach people. And because I was just getting negative feedback when you're trying to reach out in this little booth, and occasionally they get into communication, but often not. So I would just find people on their porch, find people in their yard, tell them like, I love your home. Tell me about your home. When was it built? How did you restore this? I mean, I could see, just be interested in them.
Yes.
Yeah, say, well, as a matter of fact, the reason I'm asking you all these questions is because I've selected your home. And I'm so glad you were here. I'm so glad to run into you. Let me take some photo. And so the outcome of that, I came back with 3. Now that was quite a good, it wasn't always that good in 1 hour, but it did happen that day because I was so pissed off. I was sitting there wasting my whole day.
Well, people can say you manifested that, but you actually you made it happen. Like you took a different angle. Like you almost took the opposite side of the sales pitch. You found the person, you found the home you wanted, and you sold them on the idea. You're like, I'm doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, don't ask them, would they like blah, blah, blah. Now they have to think about that, don't they? That's a question.
Yeah.
But if you just say, hey, I'm doing this. Oh, you're already going to yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yes, I definitely want to see it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You took the guessing out of it. You took the work out of it for them. It's just all there. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Such a good lesson. I think you could apply that to many different, avenues or approaches with art. I'm going to do one.
Yeah, and I just want to say add one more thing to that, if you don't mind.
Yes, go ahead.
I think it was especially good for me. I'm not saying if it had been, if I had 20 years, I was in my 50s. So I didn't have time to sort of do that slower route, putting all the work together. It's a workable thing and not for everybody. And not everyone enjoys it. I didn't find it too enjoyable, but some people do. And it's awesome. But I was more like, I have to actually make money here. I want to do something I like, and I've got to find a way to do it. So it was a bit of that situation, if you know what I mean. So you got to, what is your situation right now? If you've got a husband who's supporting you, you can just paint away serenely in your studio, great, and just ride with the waves. But it wasn't the case for me,
No, and it's not the case with me either. It's like kind of reminds me of something Tony Robbins would say. You got to raise the stakes, right? You raise the stakes there. You need to make this happen. I love how you gave yourself a goal that you had to achieve, and you just did it. You found a way to do it.
Right.
That's great. I love that. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to leave it open to you if you want to add anything else, but let's see, which one do I want to ask you? Oh, okay. So I like this one. because it's just, I don't know. I always like to reflect on myself as a child. When I started to get in touch with that, that's when I kind of turned stuff around. So do you have any advice to young Leisa? This can be art advice. It can be life advice, anything you've learned in your years that you'd like to impart upon your younger self.
Yeah, I would like to impart that, don't just follow the mold. Don't just follow the instructions. Don't, just because he's the professor or the person who's supposed to be the most knowledgeable, find out for yourself. Seek to know for yourself. Think for yourself. Don't just rely on others. If you start doing that, question, go and talk to people, get the information so you understand, read up about it, study, and then you will find paths will open up because you have knowledge. Without you getting that knowledge, without you seeking to find it, you will just go along paths or be stopped and have barriers fall in your face all the time because all you're listening to is other people's advice and not finding out for yourself.
That's so true. I love that. And it's almost like people sometimes have ulterior motives too, and maybe the ulterior motive, they don't even know. Maybe that's just, I'm unhappy and I want you to be unhappy too. This didn't work for me. Therefore, I'm going to tell you it's not going to work for you. I've had so many people, naysayers in my life, tell me that you can't make a living as an artist. Like, what do you do with, what's your fallback job? What's your day job? Don't quit your day job. And it's only when you stop listening to those people and you start kind of taking the reins and doing the research, like you're saying, that you can actually turn that around. So I think that's amazing advice.
Yeah. And I can say too, one thing to add to that is that I was fortunate with my, my father ran off with another woman when I was younger, but so we're left with my mother, but okay, that's fine. But my mother was the stable point in the family, and 3 other sisters. And she was, as an artist, she was, and so I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have her telling me that. I just didn't have that negativity. She would say, good. Honey, if that's what you want to do, you should go for it. Even my trip down the South Island, 17, she was a bit worried. Like, call me, will you?
Sure. Yeah.
She didn't try to stop me. And all my crazy ideas, as we were growing up when we were kids, we would be encouraged to paint things for Christmas and make some money, entrepreneurship and all this sort of thing, right from early age. And that I know that helped sow that seed of thinking and being an entrepreneur and not taking no for an answer and pushing on. And so, yeah, I can say that too.
That's a gift that your mom gave you too, because a lot of people don't have that. And it's still hard, even with that, as you know, but that kind of can help you see it. For artists who are listening right now and don't have that at home, or the biggest naysayers in their lives are maybe their parents or their family. You can find mentors out in the world, find somebody on Instagram, read your blog, listen to this podcast, whatever, find it where you need it, get that validation where you need it to kind of push through that negativity.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Very good.
Well, it's been awesome talking to you, but I wanted to just open up and say, if there's anything I left out, anything you want to plug, anything you want to talk about, now's the time. If you feel good, we can wrap up. Oh, well, first of all, sorry. Where do people find you? They're like, great, but we don't. I'm going to put it in the show notes too.
Yeah. I know. So just Leisa is Leisa. So LeisaCollins.com.
That's important for Americans. Leisa.
Yeah. And so my website sort of has it all. It's got my art store. It's got the book, link to the book. It's got my blog posts. I sort of try to keep one small city of it. They can find me online. I like to make myself very accessible to people. I have my phone number there. You can email me. You can however you want. I can always be reached. You can text, and I keep my lines wide open to people and communication because it's so hard sometimes. You're going on things and trying to reach anybody. No. It drives me crazy, right?
You're competing for a lot of attention. Yeah.
I do want people to know that, if they've got questions, if, they need some tips, if they need some help, other fellow artists, I love to help artists. I do that on a regular basis.
Yes.
I do that. I have the odd workshop here and there when I'm traveling around. So I love to help other artists. And so I'm always willing to help. And accept communication.
That's awesome. And get on her newsletter. So
And buy my book.
and buy the book. If you learn nothing else from this, go out and buy the book. No, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I love your work.
Advice for my book.
There you go.
That's a deal.
That's a good trade. And you'll have something beautiful to take away too. Look at Leisa's work. It's amazing. I really love all your work. I'm going to keep following you. It's been really fun talking to you.
It's been great talking to you, Preston. I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to send you a book as a gift. I really want you to.
Oh, okay, great. I'll put it on my Instagram when I get it. That'd be awesome.
I'll write a special inscription even.
Oh, wow. Look at this. I love it. My wife will love it too.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do a little story or something and show people on Instagram when I get it. So thank you so much. That's great.
Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you.
We'll stick around for a second, but thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.